Hey folks, we're going to finish up these last couple examples from solving systems of equations. So in the story problems, you always have to start off by defining what your variables are. So let's start off by saying what is x and what is y? What are the things that are changing in this story? What are the things that we don't know? So we have an entrance fee for a group of 4 adults and 3 children. For a water park, that's $220. The total fee for the group of 2 adults and 1 child is $98. Determine the entrance fee for an adult and the entrance fee for a child. Okay, so those two things we don't know is the entrance fee for an adult and the cost of a child. So the cost, looks like they do adult before they do child, so I'm going to do X as adult. Cost of an adult, cost of a child. Keep in mind, whenever you select something for X or Y, you always want to make sure that that thing is a number. So if you just wrote down adult for X, adult is not a variable. How many adults or how the cost of the adult is a variable because that's a number. All right, now I describe these as total stories because if you read this first sentence, there is 4 adults, there were 3 children, and they came together for a total of $220. So I know it sounds weird, but what's the cost of an adult? Well, they didn't tell us here, but we defined it. So now the cost of an adult is this number X, whatever X is. We don't know it yet, but we're going to find it. X represents that cost. So if I have 4 adults and each adult costs X dollars, then I would have a total of 4X for the adults. Same thing with the children. I have 3 children. The cost of a child now is Y, so I would have 3Y, and that equals my total of $220. I'm going to give you 10 seconds. I would like you to try to write the second equation, or you could hit pause. Okay, let's see how you did. 2 adults, so that would be 2 X's, plus 1 child, that would be a Y. You could put the 1 in front of it, it helps you understand it better. Add up to a total of 98. Okay, so that's the tough part. Now the easy-ish part is what we did yesterday, where we're solving the system. So we have either substitution or elimination. We have our equations in standard form, so we want to eliminate. I have to first figure out what I can multiply by to eliminate. I'm going to go after x. I think it's easy to turn 2 into a 4, but keep in mind you want to make sure that it turns into the opposite. So I'm going to times this one by -2. That would make it a -4. I'm going to leave this one alone, or if it makes you feel all warm and fuzzy, you could multiply it by 1. So I get 4x plus 3y equals 220. Times by -2, that would be -4x. Subtract 2y equals, that's I think 196, but I'm going to double check. -2 times 98, yep, -196. So now my x's are set up to cancel, which means I can now combine these. I can eliminate. 3y take away 2y is y. 220 take away 196 is 24. Okay, so now we figured out what y was. It said write and solve the system of equations. If we know what y is, I can take that y value, I can plug it back in and figure out what x is. I'm going to use this one. I could use any of these 4, but I'm going to use this one because it looks like it's got the simplest stuff. So that would be 2x plus, we just learned y was 24, equals 98. 24 is the farthest thing away on the same side, so I would subtract it. I would get 2x equals 74. Who's keeping x from being by himself? 2. It's connected by mult, so I'm going to divide, and I get x equals 37. So my solution to the system, make sure that you write the x first, 37, and then 24. And then in part B, it's not asking a ton. It just wants us to come up with, what does this mean? So since this is a story problem, writing the coordinate pair 37, 24 doesn't really make any sense. So let's answer it in terms of the situation. So remember, X is the cost of an adult. If we got 37 there, that means an adult costs $37. So an adult costs $37. And then same logic there, a child costs $24. Box it in, put it up on your fridge. Okay, I'm going to encourage you now. I'm going to say pause. I obviously will never know if you pause, right? You're just watching this video. But it's like when we take notes. So try to pause here and come up with, and try to do each step on your own. So pause the video. When I say pause the video and try to do something on your own. So we've got Latoya makes a total of 52 bracelets and necklaces to sell for the craft fair. Each bracelet takes 8 minutes to make, and each necklace takes 11 minutes to make. She spends exactly 7 hours and 44 minutes making the jewelry. We want to start off by defining our variable. What does X stand for? What does Y? I'm going to encourage you to pause here and try to fill that in on your own. Look, I get it. If you guys just wait for me, I'm going to obviously do it for you. But it doesn't help you learn anything if you just randomly write down stuff that I tell you to write down. If you do it on your own, you can maybe make some connections on what's going on. All right, so what we don't know, so she's making bracelets and necklaces. We know how long it takes to make everything, but what we don't know is how many of each one. So X is going to stand for not bracelets, maybe amount of bracelets or number of bracelets. Number 2 is, or Y is not necklaces, but number of necklaces. Okay, now we've got that out of the way. Now we know what our variables are. I'm going to encourage you to pause here and try to write up your system of equations. So when you write up a system, you want to look for totals in the story, or you want to look for beginnings and changes. All we're doing today are totals. So if we look, we have a total of 52. So we have a total of 52 things. 52 what's? Bracelets and necklaces. Now this might seem like a weird answer, but according to what we know, how many bracelets have we made? Well, if you read the story, it doesn't tell us how many, but we've defined X to stand for the number of bracelets. So we made X bracelets and we made Y necklaces. So X plus Y. The total of those two numbers have to add up to the 52. Then the second part of the story talks about how long we spend making these, or Latoya spends making these. So the bracelet takes 8 minutes to make. So if you made one bracelet, it takes 8 minutes. So every X that you make, you're going to need 8 minutes to make it. And then each necklace takes 11 minutes to make. And then now this gets interesting. This is the, I don't know, I remember this more in science class than in math class. But this is the point where you got to analyze your units and see what makes sense for the story. If we said it took 8 minutes and 11 minutes, having exactly 7 hours and 44 minutes does not fit. We don't have anything about hours. So what we need to do is we need to convert this all into hours. See if you can pause here and try. I'm going to give you just take a quick second. See if you can figure it out on your own. Don't write anything down. Just use your calc and see if you can get it. Okay, so 7 hours. If I wanted to turn 7 hours into minutes, every hour takes 60 minutes. So 7 hours would be 7 times 60 minutes. And then don't forget that we've also got our 44 from the extra minutes that were added on. So 7 times 60 plus 44, there should be 464 total minutes. All right. Now we've got the system. I think that's the toughest part. Now you're going to take over from there. Pause the video, solve the system. Okay, so this is how I solved it. I decided to go after X. I could have gone after Y. It's not any more complicated. I mean, maybe a little bit because you'd have to use the 11 instead of an 8, but same idea. Okay, so I need to turn this number into the same but opposite value as this. So I want to times this one by -8. I'm going to leave that one the same because I want to keep that as a +8. Remember, our goal is to make these have opposite signs. So if I just times by 8, 8 and 8 won't cancel, but -8 and 8 will. So now I'm going to multiply through by -8. I would negative 8x minus 8y equals, I need my calc to do this one, -416. This one we left the same. Let's now eliminate our x's. -8 plus 11 is 3y. 464 take away 416 is 48. Divide both sides by 3, we get 16. Now that we know what y is, we're going to go back and plug it in to figure out what x is. I'm going to use this equation because it's the most simple. Now remember, you should be pausing and trying to do this on your own. If you're just waiting for me to do it, y was 16 equals 52. I got x equals 36. So my coordinate pair is 36, 16. Okay, so now it's time to answer the question in terms of the story. What makes sense for this story? How many of each type of jewelry did LaToya make? That makes sense as a question. 3616 doesn't really make sense as an answer. So we would say something like, she made 36. Okay, 36 was the first one. That's X. X is the number of bracelets. She made 36 bracelets. And 16 is Y. Y stands for necklaces. 16 necklaces. Okay, well, hopefully you got most of the homework done yesterday, but now you can attack the rest of it with doing those story problems. Good luck.